Good afternoon and welcome to the October 14th meeting of the Fargo Human Relations Commission, October 17th. Let me correct the date of today. And we'll start with introductions. I'm Barry Nelson, Chair of the Fargo Human Relations Commission. And if we could just go to my left, Rachel.
Rachel Hoffman.
Hamida Dakhane.
Matura Lear.
Cheryl Schaefer.
And John Strand, I'm the liaison from the City Commission.
Thank you. If we could have the staff introduce themselves as well. They're with us today.
Tia Braswith, Planning.
Karen Flum, Planning.
Catlin Christie, Planning.
Miranda Wolf.
Thank you. We have before us the agenda for today. Is there any amendments? If not, I'm asking for approval of the agenda as presented before us.
A motion to approve.
Thanks, Rachel.
I'll second.
Thanks, Cheryl. And then we have the minutes also before us. If you could review those, if there's any modifications or changes, corrections on that, I would entertain those.
I will motion to approve.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'll second it.
Mature, thank you. It's been motioned and seconded to approve the minutes from our September 19th meeting. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We at this point have opportunity for public comment. If anyone wishes to address the commission, we welcome them to the podium at this time. Seeing none, Cody, would you like to introduce yourself as a commission member?
Hi, my name is Cody Severson. What do you want besides that?
That's good. Thank you very much.
Hi, new commission member.
Welcome. And we've got Abdiwali approaching the bench, so we'll let him have a moment. If you want to introduce yourself, Abdiwali.
Hello, Abdiwali Sharif, member.
All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Get ourselves in the right places.
We need music.
Okay.
All right, we have item 5 which is a continuation of discussion we held in September, executive committee update and elections. And the suggestion here is that in order for us to be consistent with other city special boards and commissions, that the Human Relations Commission would comprise the executive committee of just one chairperson and vice chairperson. And we do have attached bylaws that is before us, and those are described in those. Recommended action is that we would elect a chair and vice chair to serve for one term, and then would serve as the executive committee. We did have a nomination committee, which was Rachel. So would you like to make your recommendations at this time?
Yes, and so I think the recommendation for continuation of chair would be Barry Nelson, and then the recommendation for vice chair at this time would be Matura Lear.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Do we have any other nominations for either position? None. Mature, would you be willing to serve as vice chair?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to make that in the form of a motion, Rachel?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to nominate for the next year Barry Nelson as chair and Matura Lear as vice chair.
Second.
Thanks, Cheryl. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Lear, welcome as vice chair.
Thank you.
All right, so then before us, we have bylaws to consider. And again, these are bylaws that were crafted for us, and it is for us only that to approve those. Those have been presented to us beforehand as well. And the changes would be in green, as I understand it. If everyone has had a chance to read them through, do I have a motion to approve the bylaws as printed before us?
I'll second.
I'll move.
Move, Matur, and Hamida, you'll second?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have discussion on the bylaws? Hearing none. All those in favor of the bylaws for the Fargo Human Relations Commission indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. This has been a long time in coming. We have bylaws. Woo-hoo. All right. Thank you.
Years later.
All right, now I just lost my agenda. What's the next item? All right. Next item on our agenda is our statement to HUD. Last month, we had Michelle Ridds from the High Plains Fair Housing talk to us about a potential change to the fair housing law that was of concern to her and anyone else who is looking for equity in housing needs in our community. And so a statement on behalf of the Fargo Human Relations Commission was drafted under my name, and also a statement on behalf of the city of Fargo was drafted and was presented, and I believe has already been submitted to the department, expressing our request that the changes that are proposed would not go into effect, which would greatly affect the ability of people to get housing in an equitable fashion. So, staff, did we have any further updates on that, or any questions from members of the commissioners as far as that going forward? All right. Thank you very much. I believe, and I would just encourage anybody on the commission or the viewing public or in the audience that statements are being received for another 2 days. So if we really are being encouraged, we are keeping count of the numbers of comments that are being received from the state of North Dakota as well as from around the country. So I would encourage you to, if you have questions, to let our staff know, and as far as an address of where those comments can be submitted. All right. We're then going to move into other business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could, bear with me. If I didn't notice this before, and I'll just ask, with regard to the city ordinances you passed in the bylaws, was it intentional to leave gender identity out, or is that just an oversight?
Can you make specific reference?
Well, you have the typical categories, the enumerated classes, protected classes, but it doesn't include gender identity.
Oh,
And I don't know if that was discussed or intended, or if there's a reason for it, but I had this experience at the school district where we had certain categories and then we added gender identity later to it, not just sexual orientation. And bear with me, I'm sorry that I'm off your agenda topic, but.
no, thank you. So again, are you looking at the city ordinance or the bylaws?
I'm looking at the purpose of the Human Relations Commission is to promote, and it doesn't include gender identity. Would we need the city to include that?
Yeah, that's actually a quote from the ordinance. So
Okay.
FFC Municipal Code 150201.
Okay, so then I'd leave it at this. Maybe a future action would be to approach the city to amend that policy to include gender identity.
Thanks for catching that, because, and that's something that probably the common language has really only been, we've been made aware of it in the last 2 or 3 years, and so that's something that was, when this was drafted, was not probably even common usage, so thank you for bringing it up, Commissioner Strand, and I think that would be something we should take under advisement.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So we're going back to point of agenda is other business and announcements. I'm going to apologize, and I'm so totally disorganized up here. Do we have items under number 8? I can't see.
The sponsorship application under other business would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much, Tia. I seem to be kind of insistent that this not get through, because I almost forgot the deadline, and now I'm trying to keep it off the agenda. So we have before us a consideration of a sponsorship request, which is very timely in the sense that it is coming up before our next commission meeting. And that is, so it's not on the agenda, but I would propose adding it to the agenda at this time. So with the consent of the other individuals on the commission, there is a request for $250, and there is a potential conflict of interest here, since it's from an organization that I work for, the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition. There's information in here about the event, which is the 10th Annual Human Rights Summit on November 9th. So I would open that up for questions that didn't get out in your packet early, so this is your first chance of looking at it. So certainly would be more than willing to entertain questions on this request.
I know traditionally we set aside funds for Human Relations Commission members to attend. Would that be, could we do that in this request as well? And then also, do you know what we did last year?
I know there was a $250 sponsorship for sure, because what occurs with that is there's acknowledgement of the program who sponsored, and so that was indicated. I would mention that on the information that with the support of $250, it does provide for 2 admissions, or for 2 individuals to attend.
Okay.
Yeah, I would also add, on the budget that you passed in April, you have $1,000 allocated for training, and so far just 380 of that has been spent down.
Okay. Other questions, conversation? Showing my bias, I would highly recommend all those who are interested in human rights to attend this event. It is a $50 registration fee. And perhaps, how do we handle with training requests? Would we have to make a motion to approve up to a certain amount for that? I'm looking for clarification. And maybe I'll ask at the same time if there are other, if we have just 2 people interested in attending, we would have it covered. If we have more, we would perhaps need to address that. Okay, well, maybe just stay with the request for at the time.
Well, I would like to make a motion to approve the $250 request with the option to add additional training funds if additional Human Relations Commission members are interested in attending, which they should.
I second that.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. And I will be leaving save the date cards with all of you for that event. We're going to move into a staff report, and both about the planning for MLK that was brought up at our last meeting. I know things are moving ahead on that, as well as information on strategic planning. So I'm going to look to Kathleen